if that talented kid ever leaves this world before I do. I honestly don't know how I'd take it.
When people think of Michael Jordan, they picture that cold killer instinct, the dude who treated every game like a fight and every opponent like a problem he needed to solve. He wasn't the type to hand out praise, and most stories paint him as the guy who checked players, humbled them, or straight up ignored them if they weren't on his level. But here's the surprise. Every once in a while, Jordan dropped the armor and showed real love, real respect for a tiny circle of players from his own era. These weren't random shout-outs. These were rare moments where the most competitive athlete alive revealed who he believed actually deserved to stand near him.
People say, where's Dr. J? You know, that is what I can see myself, and that's what I would want myself to do once I step away from the game of the basketball, get out of the spotlight, and yet, you know, try to get to a normal life and watch my kids grow.
And when Jordan says you're special, that hits different. These are the dudes he genuinely liked before he became his airness. MJ grew up watching the original Sky artist, Julius Erving. The glide, the style, the smooth way Dr. J turned the court into a stage. Jordan soaked all of that in like a student watching a master. He didn't just steal moves, he absorbed a whole philosophy. Dr. J played like the rim was the finish line and the baseline was his runway. Jordan felt that in his soul, studying the hang time, the body control, the way Erving could flip a simple layup into straight artwork and turn a fast break into a moment you never forget.
I think Larry is the epitome of what I saw myself walking away from the game and getting out of the spotlight. You don't see much of Larry now. I think that's something that he chose.
Back in Indiana and cool at it.
Which isn't bad. I like that. I really admire him for doing that.
And as Jordan's own career exploded, the respect went deeper than highlights. It became real admiration for how Erving carried the spotlight once the cheers slowed down, how he stayed a superstar without letting fame eat up his life. Jordan isn't just talking about retirement. He's talking about identity. The whole world wanted Dr. J to stay a permanent superstar, but Julius chose family, privacy, and peace. And that hit MJ on a deep level. Chasing applause is easy, but choosing quiet and handling it with dignity, that's a different kind of strength. So when Jordan says he could see himself walking that same path, you can hear how much he respects the way Dr. J stepped away. In a league obsessed with right now, Jordan saluted the man who taught him how to exit with grace. It's a full circle moment.
Olajuwon, he was in the top 10 in 5 categories: steals, rebounds, block shots, scoring, and shooting percentage. You know what I mean? To have a big guy of his size to be in the top 10 in steals. Now you can assume that he would be in blocks, which to me shows versatility of what type of guy he really was.
The kid who learned to fly off Erving's highlights grew into the legend who admired Erving's values. For MJ, that balance, showtime on the court, humility off it, was the real formula. And while he admired the pioneers who taught him to soar, he also respected the ones who proved you could win by outthinking everybody in the building. If you want to understand how Jordan defines respect, just listen to how he talks about Larry Bird. Jordan hates fluff. He lives for results. And Larry delivered both, just without the drama. Bird didn't need a huge vertical. He used angles, timing, and a jumper that didn't care who tried to stop it. He'd tell you exactly what he planned to do, then do it anyway. He turned footwork and patience into weapons, beat you with his mind, and closed the deal with cold-blooded confidence. Jordan loved that kind of basketball cruelty. No wasted steps, no mercy, just pure skill.
His dresses doesn't bother me. His hair doesn't bother me. Sure, I mean, he's gonna go wacko every now and then. We've come to live with that. We've come to accept that. But you can't find another player on the basketball court that works just as hard as Dennis Rodman. Gives 110%, dives at loose balls, even if he can't get them. That's Dennis Rodman.
The respect ran on 2 lanes. On the court, Bird was the calm assassin. Off the court, he chose a quiet life on his own terms, avoiding the noise and living the way he wanted. That's a pattern with MJ. He respects the warriors who dominated the court and refused to let the spotlight eat them alive. Bird embodied mastery in the game and maturity beyond it. And to Jordan, that mix, precision on the floor, perspective off it, is what separates the truly legendary from the ones who are just famous. That's why his praise for Bird never sounds like old school nostalgia. It sounds like a standard. When somebody blends skill with substance like that, Jordan notices instantly. But MJ didn't just admire mental control, he loved total control, the kind where a player can run a whole game like a conductor. And that brings us to another name.
Who would I want to play one-on-one? That list is very long. I don't think I lose. Other than Kobe Bryant, because he steals all my moves.
Michael was never impressed by size alone. He respected skill, versatility, and real impact. That's why Hakeem Olajuwon lives in a special tier whenever Jordan talks about big men. Hakeem wasn't just a center who scored. He was a center who did everything. Front the post, switch onto guards, erase layups, spark a fast break, then drop the dream shake like a signature on the win. Versatility of what type of guy he really was. That's pure basketball admiration from a man who judged greatness by completeness. MJ loved players with no weak corners, and Hakeem was the model for a two-way skyscraper. The footwork looked like ballet, the hands looked like a guard's, and the IQ looked like a coach's. That all-court authority was something Jordan recognized instantly.
Not that he couldn't keep up, it was his time to step away from the game. You know, I was very fortunate to play with him for that 1 year. If I could have had George in his prime alongside of me, we would have presented problems.
If you could control possessions on both ends, MJ didn't just respect you, he studied you. From post dominance to chaos creation, Jordan saw the whole picture. His admiration even extended to the rare teammate whose wild energy hid real devotion. Jordan was ruthless with teammates who didn't meet his standard, which is exactly why his respect for Dennis Rodman means so much. Rodman was unpredictable off the floor, but between the lines, he was pure commitment. Effort, energy, extra possessions, the stuff winners live on. In MJ's world, Rodman turned rebounds into oxygen, weaponized hustle, and never treated the dirty work like dirt. His dresses doesn't bother me. Dennis Rodman didn't earn tolerance. He earned respect. Jordan never cared about the clubs, the chaos, or the headlines swirling around him. What mattered was that on some random Tuesday in February, Rodman would dive on the floor for a 50-50 ball like the whole season was hanging on that one possession. That's the behavior of a champion, and MJ knew it. Rodman was a specialist, sure, but in Chicago, his specialty was straight up winning.
That's old dog right there.
He thought well. I mean, he was very smart about his defenses. I think he approaches the game as trying to dissect his opponents and try to find weaknesses or try to force them to do things that they didn't feel comfortable doing, you know. And he introduced certain tricks to make me, you know, expand on my talents as an offensive player. I mean, that's why I consider him the best.
With Jordan, the fastest way to earn admiration was to treat the thankless jobs like treasures. And it wasn't just grinders who got MJ's respect. Sometimes it was the mirror, the one who studied every detail until the reflection matched perfectly. Jordan almost never admitted anyone could beat him one-on-one. Then Kobe Bryant walked in, a walking mirror with the same obsession burning in his chest. This wasn't just admiration, it was recognition. Kobe didn't borrow Jordan's moves, he memorized them. Footwork, rhythm, shoulder fakes, mid-post angles, but stolen? Sure, but in MJ's world, that was the purest respect you could show.
Charles is a defensive stopper, so the first thing he does, he breaks down in this defensive position with hands up. Everything looks technically right. And I just laugh. I say, when the hell are you going to start playing defense? And who taught you how to get in a defensive stance? And I had to pass it. But that's the type of guy, he would take on a challenge, even though he was not up to the challenge. He didn't care, and that's just him.
It's a joke and a compliment wrapped together. Jordan saw the hours behind the resemblance. He respected that Kobe didn't just want to win, he wanted to win like Jordan. And there's no higher salute to an artist than studying the brushstrokes and trying to paint the same masterpiece. Kobe's obsession reflected MJ's own, and that's why Jordan's nod meant so much. It wasn't friendship, it was shared fire. But Jordan's admiration didn't stop at his clones. He had a soft spot for the smooth stylists, the ones who made the net whisper. When MJ talks about George Gervin, there's a different tone, a real appreciation for finesse and rhythm. Gervin didn't attack the rim, he glided to it. That finger roll wasn't just a move, it was a whole vibe. Everything looked calm, everything looked inevitable, like the ball already knew where it was going. And for one season, Jordan got a courtside education, watching how Iceman sliced defenses without ever raising his voice. He watched how Gervin changed speeds in a single dribble, how he used hips and shoulders to unlock tiny windows that felt like trap doors, how he turned crowded lanes into empty runways. The scoring wasn't loud until you checked the box score and realized he'd been whispering 30 all night to a young Jordan. It was graduate school in rhythm. Imagine the chaos. Prime Iceman and peak Jordan sharing a wing. Footwork double, touch double, tempo double. That's a problem for every defender alive. Jordan loved raw force when the moment demanded it, but with Gervin, he admired feel.
And everybody's saying, well, why did you pick David Thompson? I know why. David knows why, and maybe you guys don't know why, but as I grew up in North Carolina, I was 11 years old, 1974, I think, when you guys won the championship. And I was an anti-Carolina guy. I hated UNC. And here I ended up at UNC. But I was in love with David Thompson. Not just for the game of basketball, but in terms of what he represented.
That sixth sense for when to explode and when to float, when to glide smooth and when to cut sharp like a blade. Gervin made the game look easy in the way only true geniuses can. MJ always knew the difference between easy and effortless, and Gervin lived in the effortless lane. Once you witness that kind of elegance up close, it sticks to your bones. It becomes part of your internal rhythm forever. And from that quiet mastery, Jordan shifted to saluting another full-court artist. The smile, the show, the no-look passes that turned arenas into theaters. Jordan judged legends by control. How completely a player could bend the game to his will and make everybody else move in sync. Magic Johnson did that better than anyone at his position. And MJ never pretended otherwise. Magic didn't just stack assists, he organized basketball. He turned 5 players into choreography on demand. One possession, he was a blur on the break. The next, he was posting a mismatch. The next, he was pointing to a spot you didn't even notice yet and firing a pass there like he mailed it yesterday. It wasn't about stats. It was about order. Playing with Magic made you feel taller. Playing against him made you feel late. It's teasing, but the affection is real. Jordan and Magic are woven into NBA history. Rival dynasties, then a torch passed in 1991 when the Bulls beat the Lakers. MJ admired Magic's leadership, his calm, his ability to run a game without chasing 40, to control the tempo and even the whole series. That's the language Jordan speaks, and he heard it loud every time Magic crossed half court. Magic's greatness lived in how everyone around him suddenly leveled up. Role players looked like stars. Stars looked like conductors. And by the fourth quarter, the whole game felt like it was drifting exactly where Magic wanted it to go. But even though MJ loved control and order, he always had space in his heart for straight-up kamikaze courage. The guys who took any assignment, even ones they had no business surviving. And yeah, their friendship cracked later, but in their prime years, Jordan genuinely liked Charles Barkley. Why? Because Chuck never dodged smoke. He wasn't built like a prototype, but he played like a thunderstorm. Undersized? So what? He tried to move mountains every night. Barkley's whole game was a dare. Meet him at the rim, meet him on the boards, meet him in transition, and he'd keep showing up like a storm you cannot wait out. Jordan respects anyone who lives in that permanent stance. Knees bent, eyes sharp, ready for the next fight before the last one's even cooled off. That's Jordan's humor with the heartbeat underneath it. He'd poke at Barkley because he respected Barkley. Chuck took every challenge, even when physics said he had no chance. He'd square up against quicker guards, bigger centers, whoever walked into his space. No flinch, no slow down, no backing up. That stubborn courage, that's exactly MJ's type. You might lose the matchup, but you don't lose the moment because you stood there and said, "I'll take him." In MJ's world, that matters. It tells him something real about your wiring. It tells him you're built for the hard parts, the parts that don't end up on posters, but do build champions. And Jordan's respect didn't always come from battles or jokes. Sometimes it came from the quiet killers, the ones who closed space, found counters, and made greatness feel crowded. Out of the whole Bad Boys era, there was one Piston who earned MJ's respect in a totally different way. Joe Dumars. No cheap shots, no trash talk, just patience, angles, and discipline. Joe didn't try to stop Jordan. He tried to shape him. He guided him toward help, took away his first options, and forced him into counters. That's how you impress someone who knows every answer. You make him change the test mid-flight. Where other defenders swung hammers, Joe used scalpels, body positioning to shade the drive, quiet hands to mess up the gather, early footwork to block the launch lane. He wasn't chasing blocks or steals for a highlight. He was chasing tiny detours that turned MJ's plan A into plan B, then C, then D, possession after possession, series after series. Joe treated guarding Jordan like solving a puzzle under pressure, a never-ending exam with no breaks. Read the end again. That's why I consider him the best. That's the Pistons we're talking about, the team Jordan hated most. And Joe is the exception because he guarded with a plan, not a punch. He didn't try to overwhelm Jordan with brute force. He tried to outlast him with choices, turn him away from the middle, bait the pull-up, show fake space, then close it late. Jordan admires competitors who understand the how of winning, the ones who think the game as fiercely as they fight it. Joe understood that, and he made Jordan better by forcing him to solve every possession instead of overpowering it. Even at peak hostility between the franchises, you could see the acknowledgement. Two professionals meeting at the sharp edge of the craft, testing limits, sharpening each other. And long before NBA chess and playoff scars, there was that original energy. These were the heroes who made a middle school kid in North Carolina believe the sky was a real destination. And out of every idol or rival on this list, David Thompson sits in a lane of his own. This wasn't just another great player. This was the childhood spark, the one who made young Mike stare at the TV and whisper, "I wanna be that." Skywalker wasn't just a nickname. It was a whole invitation to dream. Thompson made elevation feel like a birthright. The lift, the quick pop off the floor, the fearless takeoff in traffic, those weren't just highlights to Jordan. Those were instructions. And when the biggest day of MJ's basketball life arrived, the day his whole career turned into a museum exhibit, he chose Thompson to stand next to him. That choice wasn't about hype or headlines. It was about paying back a debt that started in a Carolina living room when a kid saw possibility in a man who seemed to float forever. That's the purest respect you'll ever see. Before endorsements, before banners, before MJ, Thompson represented possibility. He showed a kid how high a person could rise, how light a person could feel, and how far someone could go with a ball and a dream. He didn't just model a move, he modeled a mindset. Leap first, trust the work will keep you in the air. So when Jordan invited Thompson into his Hall of Fame moment, it was pure gratitude. A straight acknowledgement that greatness comes from a lineage. MJ didn't pick Thompson for politics. He picked him to say, "Forever, my story started with his wings." That alone shows how deep the respect runs. And that gratitude ties this whole journey together. Pioneers, rivals, grinders, mirrors, each one shining a light on what Jordan truly values. Bottom line, MJ's respect follows a clear pattern. He salutes the pioneers who wrote the script before him, Irving, Gervin, Baylor, and the rivals who mastered control and fundamentals. Bird, Magic, Hakeem, the masterminds, Rodman and Dumars, the grinders who treated dirty work like gold. And Kobe, the kindred spirit chasing the same burning obsession. This isn't casual praise. It's a snapshot of what Michael Jordan truly values: control, craft, courage, and choosing to live with purpose on and off the court. You can drop this anywhere in the video. It connects clean and keeps the momentum alive. Jordan never handed out flowers just to look friendly. If your name lands here, it's because you earned it. Possession by possession, series by series. Whether it's legends like Magic and Larry, rivals like Joe Dumars and Hakeem, wild cards like Dennis Rodman, or even that complicated bond with Charles Barkley, MJ's respect always comes from the same place: battle scars. These weren't players he simply thought were good. These were the ones who made him sharpen the blade, build new counters, find new gears. They earned space in his mind, and even more rare, space in his words. And when it comes to Jordan, that's the highest praise on earth. To impress a man who spent his entire career trying to break anyone in his path isn't approval, it's legacy. No card needed. If Jordan's compliments are this rare, then the names that made this list tell you everything about what true greatness looks like.